And there's a time we had an engagement with the stakeholders in Matuga. They were saying National only gives us water during the rain season, you know, and we always say that during the rain season, our system is under less pressure because of the reduced demand. So it means that we're able to provide, actually we have more than what is demanded at that time. So I would say right now as we speak, the water supply in Kampala and most parts of Uganda where National provides the service is relatively stable, and most customers should be getting water supply.
Okay, now let's talk about the recent flooding in Kampala.
Yeah.
And actually, for a viewer out there, they may not know that in as much as we got the floods, our water supply may remain stable. They may not know that there are actually challenges when it comes to that. So the recent flooding in Kampala, how has it affected water supply?
The flooding in general presents quite a number of challenges for us. Like I said, just like the dry spell presents challenges, but also sometimes we benefit in terms of opportunities presented. And I've already presented the opportunity it provides us, especially with the reduced demand and the fact that some people are harvesting. So we have less pressure on our system, and we're able to provide more people with water, especially the people who are in the far ends. But when it comes to the floods, for Kampala particularly, we are lucky that we have a very strong and resilient system. So we haven't experienced any significant challenge when it comes to water supply. But the only challenge we get or we've received is in terms of now the quality. Because as we have the floods, so the floods basically carry everything. And whatever is carried ends up into the lake, most of it. And that's why we get our water. So we find that right now, during the rain season, especially when it's flooding, the quality of water at our source is very bad. Yesterday, I think for some of the stations, they were able to show that the quality deteriorates significantly. So it means that we have to invest or to put in a lot of money to treat the water so that it meets the drinking water standards. But also, the other challenge that comes with it is that then our operations are also significantly reduced. So it means that if we have any interruptions with supply, where you have a pipe that has broken, it means that we are not able to respond to it as fast as possible. Some of our lines or even manholes are fully covered in water. So again, that presents another very big challenge for us in terms of maintaining operations and providing supply to our customers. Like I said, we are lucky that most of our system is a bit resilient, that even with those rains, our pipes are fully secured. We haven't had any case whereby our pipe has been swept away because of the floods, because again, they are designed to keep that in mind. But where we've also had challenges is that, you see, we provide water and sewage services. So it means that there's a part of sewerage. And what usually happens during the rain season, we have customers in Kampala that take advantage of that. And then they open their septic tanks and they drain into the public drain system. So it means that people now start seeing waste or sewerage, and sometimes it's not from our system, but it's from the drainage system, but just because someone who is selfish enough has opened their septic tank to the public. But also we had cases whereby again some drainage systems end up with where you have our manholes that have been where the covers are stolen. So you can have also rainwater or stormwater entering into our sewage pipes. So in that case, you can get also blockages. So the floods and rain in general present kind of a number of challenges for us, especially in making sure that our operations are kind of constrained. But on a whole, as a corporation, we've been resilient enough. We've gone through this, and we designed most of our systems here in Kampala to the extent that supply is maintained. Now we have towns that are not lucky, like we are. We have all these cases in Kasese, where River Nyamwaba floods, and sometimes when it floods, it even sweeps the whole pipework. But again, I think what the corporation is trying to do is try to keep all that in mind, so that all the projects and systems we design, there's some level of resilience that can withstand extreme weather conditions, whether be it drought or be it floods. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, one would wonder, you said that our systems, especially in Kampala, are resilient, and we haven't gotten much damage as regards the recent floods. But let's paint a picture. What if we had rains? You saw what happened in Nairobi last year, where they had incessant rains for given number of days. If we had the same situation happen to us, the same situation that happened last week, but for, let's say, a week, would our systems remain as resilient? How much can they take?
I would say there's a time we had a series of rains for quite a long period of time, and then we saw the rise in the water levels even at our source. Some of our plants like Lida, we had the intake basically submerged into water. So again, like I said, different systems we run experience different challenges, but over time we've tried to learn the implication of either heavy rains or prolonged rains, like prolonged drought, what it can do to our systems. Like in case of Gaba, where which is one of the main sources for Kampala, we try to protect most of the key installations, so that in case, even if there are those extreme cases where it rains for a long time and we have the water levels rising, we minimize, in case we have some parts flooding, at least the key installations are not affected. So we've tried to be as mindful as that, because we know the implication it can have when, again, you have a lot of rain and people cannot get water. So we just want to give confidence to our customers, especially in Kampala, that for most of the extreme cases, especially for most of our systems, we've tried to make sure that we build a lot of resilience in them, so that we have very, very minimum impact when it comes to such situations.
Okay. Now, when it comes to challenges in ensuring reliable water supply during the heavy rains and flooding, how do you, what would you say are the main challenges that you face as Kampala Water during a flooding season, especially in areas like, let's say, Kasese, but also here in Kampala?
I think the challenges are always going to be, you're going to have cases whereby one of your infrastructure is drastically affected. Like I gave an example in Lida, when it overrains, you can have one of our intakes fully flooded or submerged into water. And what is most important is your ability to respond to those cases in terms of capacity and technical competence of your team, whether it's able to deal with that situation, but also whether you have resources that can immediately be able to allow you to respond. So that's what Nashota has tried to do, that we built internal capacity, that in such cases we have staff, we can mobilize a team from Kampala to be able to go to Lida, to go to Pondwe, to go to Kasese and rescue the situation. But also we put in place reserves for most of our key installations, that when you have such a case, again, you don't have to go through a long procurement process to access some of the equipment that you might need. So we have stock of some of the critical equipment that you might need that can rescue you in that situation. So I think that's, again, when I talk about resilience, it's terms of infrastructure, but also resources, and also the kind of preparedness where you faced with a situation like that. But again, you can't afford to have any challenge, definitely. Like I mentioned, that when it has rained and flooded like we had in Kampala, definitely you have a case whereby you can't move at all.
Yes.
So in case that, what that means is that in case you have even a pipe that has given way, you can't be able to fix it.
You have to wait for the
water to subside. You have to wait for water to subsidize. But also even some of our pipes can also be submerged. So in case a pipe has given way, has broken or burst, means that again it becomes a very big challenge for our team to be able to fix it. But again, like I said, we have cases, even we have divers that our people are supposed to work underwater in some situations. So the preparedness that you put in place or you have as an institution becomes very key, because these challenges are going to happen, and they will come at a time when you don't expect them. And I think that's what we're trying to do, that we're experiencing this more often, that today we have floods, then tomorrow it's going to be a drought situation. So again, how do you deal with it, that now all of a sudden people are struggling, there isn't enough water? Then after 1 week, you have floods. Again, how do you deal with that? And we're learning lessons every time and put in place measures to make sure that, again, we don't use that as an excuse at all when it comes to providing water with people with safe water.
All right. I like that you ended with a note on safe water, because that's where I was going. Earlier, you did mention that during a flooding season, the quality of the water declines, and you have to now engage into treatment initiatives to ensure that people's water is safe. But I'm curious, a quick one. I'm curious, how long does it take for us to have that clean water? Because we have water in our tanks by the time it rains, but how much time do you guys need, the national water, the Kampala water need, to ensure that the citizens are receiving treated water?
Our case is really continuous. What we do is that at all our plants, we monitor on a very regular basis, almost hourly basis, the quality of water at the raw source at all the different treatment stages, so that in case there's any change in quality, we're able to quickly respond and either increase the dosage for the chemicals we're using or change the technology and the system we're supposed to use to treat. So what happens is that in most cases the customer is not supposed even to feel anything, because we are continuously responding to the changing environment, changing quality of the raw source, so that we're able to, what we guarantee is that whatever volume of water gets out of our plant is tested and meets the drinking water standards. Now again, like we mentioned, the challenge that comes, especially when you go now to a customer's premises, during the rain season, most of our customers have reservoir tanks. They have storage for the water. And most of them have gone ahead, even connected them to they are also rainwater harvesting.
Yes.
So what is happening right now is that you find that the rain from the water from the rain is mixed with the water from national water. So, and we can't guarantee the quality that comes from your roof, because you can imagine what happens on your roof. And when water comes from the roof, that's what you harvest, and ends up in the same tank that you're going to get the water from national water. So some customers experience deterioration in quality at their premises. Now, it definitely it has nothing to do with the quality of water from national water. Also, it has a lot to do with the water that now you're harvesting. That's why some customers have advised them, can you separate the two systems?
I've seen homes where they have the harvesting
tank for harvesting, and the tank for the year. So ideally, would recommend that. But even on top of that, we also always recommend that that tank of yours, you have to regularly clean it. Some people have taken long even to clean these tanks. And when you clean, that's when you realize why it's very important for you to clean it. Some of the tanks don't even have covers. So you have the birds, they come and they do all sorts of things within that water. So the quality of the water that you receive, and you find that it is not meeting the standards, it might not be, that might not have anything to do with what national water gives you, but also it has to do with the storage you have at your premises.
Okay. Now, I used to see back in the day, water, you would open the tap and the water would come out as if it is whitish in color. I've not seen that in a long time, but recently when I was in Chiboga, I saw that in the hotel where I slept. What does that mean? Back in the day, people used to say, hey, it's national water. What does it really mean when water is that color?
Ideally, I think what we always do is to make sure that we put in chemicals to ensure that the quality is preserved up to the point that the customer receives it. Now, Chiboga, I might not be very confident because that system is not operated by national water. But in principle, what we are supposed to do is make sure that by the time the water reaches the customer's premises, it is safe for drinking. And sometimes most of the systems we put chlorine to preserve the water, and when you open sometimes, but the chlorine has to be regulated. Again, it can't be too much, but it's also very safe for people to drink.
Okay. Now, we are assessing water supply amidst heavy rains and flooding in Kampala, and I am speaking to Mr. Mahmoud Lutaya, who is the General Manager, Kampala Water. If you would like to be a part of this conversation, the number is on your screen. It is 0709-602-592. You can write through, you can ask the questions that have been on your mind to Mr. Lutaya here. He will be in position to give you an answer regarding the water situation in Uganda, but most especially, should we put it downsize it to Kampala,
or leave it at Uganda? Uganda
yes.
is so fine, yeah.
Okay, so with any questions, if you have any questions, please write to us on the number that has been shared on our screen, and I will share. You can also send a direct message still through that number. I will be able to receive it and share it with Mr. Lutaya. Now, Mr. Lutaya, let's look at the impact of water treatment. How does flooding impact water treatment and distribution systems? Is the water safe for consumption by the customers? I think it's the same, almost the same question we were dealing with earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little more clarification.
So I think what has happened with our system of recent, ideally, naturally, God had made this world safe for everyone, because He had put natural filters that when it floods, water is supposed to go through a filtration system, so that by the time it reaches the lake where we're supposed to pick it, was supposed to be a bit clean. So what has happened in most of our places that we've basically destroyed those natural filters. We have built in the wetlands, we've even destroyed them completely. It means that now whatever comes from the city goes direct to the lake. And that's what I mentioned earlier, that when it rains and we have these floods, what we see at the end, the other side, we see all the buvelas, we see all the bottles, mineral water bottles, we see all sorts of things that are being carried from someone's home, from the streets. We see all the soil that is carried with the water, and all that ends up into the lake or the river. So it poses a very significant, big challenge for us in terms of now the quality of water that we're supposed to treat.
Yes.
And that's where it becomes a very big challenge. So over time, because of the deteriorating quality, what we've had to do is change technology that we use to treat, start acquiring very expensive chemicals that are supposed to help us to treat that water. That's why even recently, when we were putting up our new treatment plant, we couldn't put it in Gaba because already that place, the quality of water from the source was very bad. So we had to go all the way to Katosi, where it is still a bit clean. So it means that now the cost of treatment, the cost of us providing the service becomes very expensive. And usually our customers ask, why should we pay for water? Yet we know you
water
get it from the lake. And that's what we've always been explaining now. When you have a chance to see the quality right now as we speak, you find that all the water is green.
Actually, when you go to Lake Victoria, you cannot get that water and drink it. Like, you look at it and you know it is not good for you.
So now that's the big task we have, that you transform that water in that state to the level that by the time it reaches your home, it's safe, it's colorless, it's odorless, and you can drink it without any issues. And that's what we always communicate to our customers, that there's a huge cost that we incur as a corporation to see that this water is extracted or picked from the lake. We take it through a set of processes to clean it, and then disputing it. Even disputing itself is a very big challenge, because people are staying at different elevations. There are those that are staying in hills now. During the rain season, so it means that if the power in any way is affected, so you have a blackout, you always have power being affected because of the heavy rains. It means that even us, we are not able to provide the service because we don't have power, and most of our systems rely on power. So the floods and the rain season presents those challenges, that some issues are even external, like the case of power, and most of our boosters are now cut off. And then you have cases of flooding. Now what flooding does, which I didn't mention, is that you can have our installations, and you see the places that are flooded, and we have a nearby installation, could be a booster, and it's also flooded. So it means that definitely our operations are affected.
I see. Now, what would you say would be the impact of, because you did mention that you end up buying expensive chemicals to treat the water. And then, of course, you talked about the distribution and the dynamics thereof. How does this impact tariffs to the end user?
For water to be sustainably provided to our customers, someone has to pay the cost of the service. And what we've done as National is to make sure that we have very efficient systems so that as much as possible that cost that we have to incur to treat the water and provide to our customers is as minimal as possible. So over time you realize as a corporation haven't increased our tariff. So it means that what we've benefited a lot from is from efficiency gains. What we've done is to index our tariff, because what is influencing now, what people always consider as increase in price is basically the inflation that comes with it. So if the power bills go up, it means that we have to protect the costs, or we should be able to treat the water that we provide to our customers. So for us to do that, if the power bills have gone up, it means that we have to index our tariff so that we're able to.
What do you mean by index?
Indexing means that we adjust it to take care of the impact of inflation and increases in input costs. Like I mentioned, there are some particular costs that have been well defined within the indexation policy. When power goes up, when the power bills or electricity is increased, so we should be able to make sure that still the money we get from the customers is able to pay for the power bills. Because you can imagine if you leave the tariff the way it is, and then the power goes, the cost for electricity goes up, it means that time will come when where the money you get is not able to pay for the bills that you incur. Not because you're increasing the tariff, but just because the inputs have gone up, the power has gone up, the cost of chemicals has gone up. So what government did is to make sure that water is sustainably provided to the customers, is to have a system that the tariff for water is protected against inflation and increases in input costs.
All right. Now, let's talk about some of the recent pipe upgrade works at Gaba Water Treatment Plant and how this project will improve water supply in the city.
Yes, we've been undertaking very significant infrastructure upgrades, especially in Gaba. Gaba, we have basically 3 plants. It's 3 in 1. And one of the plants is as old as it's been in place since 1939. But again, because of our very good maintenance culture as a corporation, all these plants are operating as if they are new. But you find that most of the equipment has been due for upgrade and replacement. And over the last 6 months, that's where we've been having a lot of effort to see that most of the big pumps that have outlived their lifespan can be replaced with more efficient pumps. And so far we've replaced 2 of those very huge pumps, and we expect another set of 3 pumps by end of this month, and by next month should also have replaced them. So once we do that, what does that mean to water supply in Kampala? What that means is that now we're able to run the plant at full capacity. And now during the period when we were water stressed, like the period we've been in, it means that we're able to provide supply to most of the people in Kampala. And as I speak right now, almost 95% of Kampala has reliable water supply. The areas that we are still challenged with are the areas in the far ends like Matuga, places like Maganjo, Nabweru, Tula, the places of Nansana, Chingira, Bulenga, and they're stretched, they're challenged right now because we need to upgrade our infrastructure, the pipework, so that we're able to evacuate all the volume of water we have from the new plant that we constructed in Katosi, so that we're able to supply those places. And already a project has started. It started in February, and we hope all those places, once the project is complete, definitely now all those areas also be able to receive reliable water supply.
All right. Well, we are having a conversation with Kampala Water, and we are assessing water supply amidst heavy rains and flooding in Kampala. I'm speaking to Mr. Mahmoud Lutaya, who is the General Manager, Kampala Water. Now, I have some feedback from our viewers, and I would like to share that with you. The first one is from Mojuni Kabunza from Matuga. He says, thank you for bringing those people of National Water. Why do we get charged when they actually know that we haven't received water in Matuga for the last 4 months? Could there be a syndicate between National Water officers in Matuga and the people selling water in Matuga? He seems really annoyed.
Yes. Matuga has been challenged, and especially where we're coming from during the dry spell, that because of the works we've been doing in Gaba, like I mentioned earlier, the replacements of some of our pumps, it meant that we've had to have some places take some time without water. But of recent, some significant interventions have been taken, and a number of places now in Matuga are able to receive some water. And the project I talked about earlier, where we are trying to upgrade the pipework and put a very big tank in Kanyanya, that project will sort out all the issues of water supply in Matuga. We've had a lot of engagements with our customers in Matuga. We've tried to, we really sincerely apologize, because the situation they've been into has been very, very dire, because there are places that are taken some time without water.
So it's true that they've spent 4 months without water?
Not all places, some places, yeah, that spent that long. But again, that was due to some of the upgrades we've been having. And since the installation of the new pumps, the situation is totally different right now. Now, there's no definitely syndicate between National Water and the people selling water, because I think there was always that perception that these tankers that are supposed to relieve customers, sometimes when we have those challenges, the customers who believed, oh, there was that kind of perception that actually they belong to National Water. And it is intentional that people are not given water so that those tankers sell water. So that is really not true. Those tankers are basically picking water from well-designated places that have been put and are being charged by National Water. Now, what basically happens in case we have any water stress in any place, then these Ugandans are able to support customers in those areas. So there's no, in any way, any syndicate between the corporation or the staff of the corporation or the people who are selling water using, especially the bowsers.
Okay. Now, Nabasa Isaac Owen seems to agree with you. He says, I think the water goes to Lake Victoria, but due to blockages of the drainage systems, it's now causing flooding in Kampala. Then Tumwine James says, challenges are means of providing solutions. So technicians should devise means of managing water that causes floods in Kampala to boost up hydropower and other services like creation of artificial farming such as valley dams and fishing plants, among others. This is from James Tumwine in Chankwanzi. And then Charlie says, good morning, thank you for the great work. I am Chityoseruma here in Vunamwaya, but water these days is brown, as in it is rusty. My question is that water safe for us?
So for Charlie, especially in Vunamwaya where he says the water is rusty, I think that one is a case we need to follow up. Because like I mentioned earlier, some of these cases are localized. You find that the tank that you're using has taken some time without it being cleaned. Some of our customers, the plumbing system they have very old pipes that you find that are due for replacement. So when you have a rusty pipe and water is coming through your rusty pipe, then definitely water can turn out to be like that. But I think for us to be clear what the reason is, we need to, I will take the contact for Charlie and follow it up. But ideally for all the water that we provide to our customers, and even for Vunamwaya, we test it almost on a regular basis, and it's been very okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lutaya. Now, what are your parting shots to our listeners and viewers on
so the
water
parting
safety?
shots is, for me, one, as a corporation, we want to sincerely appreciate our customers and the general public for the support they've continued giving the corporation. our motto is always the customer is the reason we exist. Without the customer, as a corporation, we don't exist. And we treat customers as king in national water. So there are areas that we have not met our customers' expectation, and those areas we have taken note of them, and we're doing everything possible to make sure that we provide a service that exceeds their expectations. We want to request our customers to continue being strong partners with us. Where there are any challenges, we welcome constructive feedback, but also we always urge and request our customers to pay their bills, because like I said, without paying the bills, it means that we're not able to sustain the service. So we thank the customers. Our commitment remains water for all as a corporation. All efforts are being made to make sure that every Ugandan, where National Water provided services, has access to safe water, and that commitment won't rest until we achieve it.
Well, we have been assessing water supply amidst heavy rains and flooding in Kampala, and I've been speaking to Mr. Mahmoud Lutaya, who is the General Manager, Kampala Water. Thank you, Mr. Lutaya.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you as well.
Well, stick around. Ruben Pima is here to give us sports updates, and I will catch you together with Julie Nantaba and Robert Chirabonyonyintono tomorrow at 6:30 for the Good Morning Uganda Friday special. We have so much prepared for you tomorrow, so stick around and we'll catch you then.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.